The world, as we all know, the world is a mess, and we're going to be called on to, at some time, we're going to be called on to survive in many different ways, and we don't know how, but we need to be prepared for it, and that's what we're doing here with the laws of survival, and there are many. And I look at them through fiction because obviously I'm a fiction writer, but I've also done an intensive and expansive study of history over a period of 10 years, analyzing over 1,000 biographies, distilling 40 principles, 21 more narrowly focused, and learning what's worked for people to overcome adversity for the last 1,000, 2,000 years, especially the last few hundred years. So one of the laws of survival we're going to talk about right now is one of the most is extremely powerful, and I'm going to again refer to Jack London's story. Jack London was into survival up in the north of Alaska during the gold rush. He wrote a story called "The Man with the Gash," and this story is about Jacob Kent, who was basically a greedy. He had a cabin halfway down in the middle of nowhere on a gold trail, and he was basically had a monopoly. People are coming in there, and he would squeeze them dry for their gold dust in order to stay the night, get out of the cold at 60, 70 below, and he made a lot of enemies. And as a result, he was a paranoid person. This is sort of a negative. By the way, this principle we're talking about, it's extremely powerful, but it can be used positively or negatively. Jacob Kent was using a bomb, but he was using it negatively against himself. But he's squeezing. He's a pirate. He's robbing these people who are in desperate circumstances, and he makes enemies, and just like people who make enemies tend to be paranoid. On a more grand scale, look at Joseph Stalin. He made a lot of enemies. He had to start killing a lot of people to get rid of his enemies, and then of course all their relatives were now new enemies and friends, so that it's a never-ending problem. But this is more a micro situation where Jacob Kent is having nightmares because he believes that the check is coming due, destiny, fate, whatever. He believes people are going to rob him because he's got a lot of gold dust and a lot of enemies, and he's in a remote locale, and he's got a cast of characters that haunt his dreams, and one of them is the man with the gash. So one day, Jacob Kent is weighing his gold. He's got his scales out. He's weighing his gold dust, and he's startled, and he whips around, and sure enough, it's the man with the gash. Not the man from his dreams, but the real personification. And in fact, Jacob Kent believed that his dreams represented real people in the real world, and here it actually happened. He's looking, and not only that, Jacob Kent always keeps his gold hidden, but the man with the gash caught him with his gold out, measuring and weighing his gold. Now he's scared. He's panicking. He's staring, and he's shocked by this hideous gash on his face, and he's shaking and he's sweating. Jacob Kent and he's fixated, staring at this gash, and the man with the gash becomes irate because he's being looked at with disrespect, and so they get off to a bad start. And London writes, "The sack with its glittering yellow. Within that gold sack that he was weighing," it says, "heaven and hell lay within its slender mouth." So there sets up the stakes for this story. The stakes, heaven and hell. Extremely real stakes, very similar to those in real life. And it says, of course, that Jacob was paranoid and about the threats of theft. London writes, "A select number of these robbers that haunted him through his dreams came to know him quite well." So he knew this man quite well through his dreams. And then it says, he believed some omens thought transference, these real personages. Okay, so there's this, these dreams are cautionary. They're like omens of the bad things that could happen. And then London writes, Mammon had laid hot fingers on his heart. So the Bible says man cannot serve two masters. You serve God or mammon. And it says here, Mammon had laid hot fingers on his heart. So Jacob Kent had chose the wrong master. And then here he is facing the real man with the gash. Jacob Kent has reached the point of no return. He's facing a real crisis in his life, and he's got fear. It's either fear or faith, and Jacob Kent is shaking and sweating with fear. Sweat was pouring off Kent's face and quavering of his knees, so he's terrified. London writes that the man with the gash starts giving him orders, and that's very ironic because the Bible says, you cannot serve two masters. Well, you're going to either serve God or you're going to serve the devil. You're going to serve mammon. And it says here that the man with the gash, we already know that that Jacob Kent had chosen mammon, and here the man with the gash is acting like a master, starts giving him orders: get the fire going, get some water, get my bed ready. And Kent is so terrified that he's actually going to, for the first time ever, he's actually going to serve one of his guests because he's too scared not to. And he's got his shotgun handy, but he's so stunned by this situation that's unfolding that he's not using his shotgun, even though it says that he yearns to use that shotgun. He's hungry to use it because this man has problems. All right, such a thing was unheard of. So here he is actually considering serving a guest. So it says again, he has a tremendous yearning to try his shotgun on him, but fascination was so potent. So that shows the cause and effect. That what happens is when we concentrate on something the way that Jacob Kent concentrated on screwing robbing his customers. He concentrated on his dreams and his gold. All he did whenever he had free time is he'd weigh his gold and lust after his money. And here he is. This concentration causes an intensification of the cause and effect patterns, and as a result, the payoff becomes concentrated, and it becomes an exponential disaster in some cases. And so, the threat is very real for him now because the man with the gash even threatens him if he doesn't get moving. And then London writes, it was remarkable that he could do what he did, and then without ever striking a light. And the reason he writes that is because Jacob Kent couldn't sleep that night. He was so terrified, and he was guarding his gold. He had his shotgun in his hand, and he was going to stay up all night long. But then something happened as he fell asleep. And Jacob Kent had a problem, which was he was a sleepwalker, and in his sleepwalk, in order to guard his gold, he went to his ammo box and he loaded up. He had a muzzle loader, and he packed that muzzle with double load of black powder, and because he was going to be ready to kill this man with the gash. So and that's what that was his weak link. He had a weak link because of his obsession, his concentration on the mammon and on his fear and on his greed, and so everything that we internalize to that degree comes out, and it breaks through. It breaks at some unexpected time, a time of tension, a time of exhaustion, sleep deprivation. What can happen is something happens, and like for example, his sleepwalking, he did something significant. He did a double load. There was a loss of control. It happens to us. It happens to real people in times of exhaustion, in times of overwork, and that's what happened with Jacob Kent. It's the cause and effect. He's been sowing these seeds of greed, of ill will. All of these things have been sowing. Finally, there's going to be a payoff. Whether we like it or not. So in the morning, something happens. He wakes up and he realizes his gold is gone. He must have fallen asleep. So what happens is he questions the man with the gash, but who denies everything. And so, let me go back. Jacob Kent, when he realizes his gold goes back, he sneaks up behind this man with the gash is sleeping. Jacob Kent sneaks up on him, slips a noose around his neck over the rail and starts pulling. So he's choking the man with the gash. The man wakes up being hung. And the man's he's choking with a noose around his neck and a shotgun. Jacob Kent's got a shotgun right in his face. And he says, "Where's the gold?" The man knows nothing, he says. He said, "I know nothing about the gold. What happened to the gold? I don't know." And so, well, he says, you better know, or you're going to hit the brimstone trail. So here Jacob Kent is threatening hell. You're on your way to hell. He's threatening the man with the gash for stealing from him. So these are some heavy stakes that Jacob Kent is threatening with. And then when it doesn't happen, Jacob Kent finally, someone's coming down the trail, and Jacob Kent has to make a decision. And when the man with the gash makes a move to get free, Jacob Kent pulls the trigger, and the gun goes off. But unfortunately, what happened is it backfired and blew back on Jacob Kent and killed him. And then the man with the gash picks up the gun, and gold dust is pouring out of the break in the side. Gold dust is pouring out because the man with the gash, his weak link was when he slept walk, and he double packed that gun, but he packed it. He didn't, in his dreams, he didn't remember that he had hid his gold in his ammo box, and so he packed it with gold dust. So London's story shows us how concentration intensifies the cause and effect chain until probability swings toward the inevitable, and that's what happened. Thanks for watching. See you next time.